All right. Um, yeah, this is just something I've been wanting to do for ages. This isn't really a request. I see this, I've just been meaning to do it, and yeah, it's now midnight, and I'm not going to be able to do videos because I'm going to decorate tomorrow, for a while, for as long as it takes. So I've been stocking up on videos for over the next few days, but I'm tired. But yeah, I've got some coffee. But things Eddie Vedders, former bandmates and collaborators, have said about him. So yeah, I've been, because he knows everyone, like for real. Like the more I do of him, Bruce Springsteen, Gord Downey, and the Tragically Hip, like Eddie Vedder is literally friends with everyone. He must be a genuinely nice person for that fact. There doesn't seem to be anywhere where someone calling him a douche. But yeah, let's go.
Eddie Vedder is adored by his critics and worshipped by his fans, but what do his bandmates think? From Pearl Jam's former drummer to a Riot Grrrl rocker, here's what Vedder's collaborators have said about him. Jeff Ament is one of the founding members of Pearl Jam, but before he and his bandmates dominated the 90s, Ament spent much of the 80s laying the foundation for the Seattle grunge explosion. Ament was born in Big Sandy, Montana, and started playing bass guitar while still a teen. He eventually moved to Seattle and joined Green River, a band whose sound influenced a growing alternative style that was still in its formative years. After leaving Green River, Ament joined Mother Love Bone. That band also claimed future Pearl Jam guitarist Stone Gossard as one of its members. Mother Love Bone further developed the grunge sound with their 1990 release Apple, but it was Ament and Gossard's next band, Pearl.
That's the thing, I haven't been requested. Yeah, people request some more Mother Love Bone. Because I enjoyed the ones we did. They are a fire band. But yeah, so yeah, that's a request from me. Request some Mother Love Bone. But anyway, yeah, let's go.
Jam that really brought the Seattle style to the masses. In the years since Pearl Jam exploded onto the music scene, Ament has branched out into other projects. In addition to playing in the band Three Fish, Ament has also recorded a few solo records. However, Pearl Jam has always been his main gig. Throughout his time in the band, Ament has maintained a close relationship with lead singer Eddie Vedder. While speaking to The Independent, Ament gave the outlet some insight into Vedder's immense musical talent and their unique collaborative process. He told the publication, "If you're laying down a drum part or singing in particular, the mastery of Ed and what a poet he's become and how good and how fast he is, you really start to understand how special of a guy he is."
He's so good at it.
Pearl Jam guitarist Stone Gossard was born and raised in Seattle. Gossard played with numerous local bands in his early days like Ducky Boys and March of Crimes. It was Pearl Jam, however, that really put him on the map. Gossard has been with the iconic group since its inception, but he has also dabbled in side projects. In addition to playing in his other rock band, Brad, Gossard started his own record label and even released a couple of solo albums. Stone Gossard is clearly a very talented and prolific musician, but he still looks up to his longtime bandmate Eddie Vedder. In an interview with Kerrang, the guitarist called Vedder his muse. He also lamented about not being able to write more songs with Vedder due to their different creative approaches. Gossard told the outlet, "The way Ed really operates, the way that he loves to get music, is for something that's immediate for you coming in at a time when he's ready to connect with it. He likes to be in the process with you, so if I send him 30 ideas, it's just too much information for him to manage."
I write lyrics all over my body.
Matt Cameron grew up in San Diego and started drumming when he was only 9 years old. He eventually moved to Seattle during the early days of the grunge scene. After arriving in the Emerald City, Cameron landed his first long-term gig as the drummer for Soundgarden. Soundgarden would go on to shape the grunge sound with the hit albums Super Unknown and Down on the Upside. When Soundgarden disbanded in 1997, Cameron started the band Wellwater Conspiracy. He even appeared on the solo albums of Geddy Lee and Tony Iommi. However, Cameron eventually returned to his grunge roots when he joined Pearl Jam in the late 90s. While playing in a hugely popular rock band may be a daunting proposition, Cameron told Seattle Today that it was actually a fairly easy transition, thanks to Eddie Vedder's kindness. He said to the outlet, "Eddie was just a total sweetheart. Still is, you know? He was just so welcoming. I mean, they all were, but he really wanted to make sure that I was good." Jerry Hannan is a folk rock singer, songwriter, and guitarist who co-founded the Mad Hannans with his brother Sean in 1996. He eventually became a solo artist and started writing songs for movies, thanks in part to his friendship with Sean Penn. It was Penn who reached out to Hannan to write a few songs for his 2007 film Into the Wild. As if this wasn't an exciting enough prospect by itself, the soundtrack as a whole was in the hands of none other than Eddie Vedder. Ultimately, Hannan's song Society made the cut. In an interview with Rob Janik's Sound Evolution music blog, Hannan warmly recalled what it was like to have Eddie Vedder record his song. He told Janik, "Eddie Vedder's voice sounded so great in my headphones. I couldn't believe it. We really only worked for 15 to 20 minutes. It was probably the smoothest, easiest recording of a song I've ever done." Hailing from Gig Harbor, Washington, the young Dave Krusen started playing the drums because he loved The Who and Led Zeppelin. He played with local musicians as a teenager, but his first big break came in 1990 when he was asked to join Pearl Jam. The following year, the band released their first album, 10, which became a huge hit. Krusen left Pearl Jam in May of 1991, but he kept himself busy with stints in other bands like Hovercraft, Diamond Star Halo, and Candlebox. Although Krusen's time in Pearl Jam was brief, he had very positive...
It never ceases to amaze me how it just seems like everybody in that kind of grunge thing, they're just in thousands of bands, every single one of them. It's not like, I don't think there is a single member of a grunge band, scene band, that hasn't been in numerous other, bands making albums at some point. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Memories of meeting Eddie Vedder for the first time, telling Rolling Stone, "As soon as he started singing, I was struck by the uniqueness of his voice. He was right into the fire. It was like, nice to meet you, here we go." My impression of him right off the bat was that he was a really hard worker, a great voice, and a cool dude. While Krusen only recorded one album with the band, his contributions were immortalized when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Pearl Jam in 2017. Boom Gaspar's path from laid-back Hawaii-based keyboardist to playing in Pearl Jam is a surprising one. Born into a musical family, he picked up the keyboard when he was still very young and quickly dove into R&B and the blues. Gaspar's first big break came in the 1970s when he performed with legendary bluesman Albert Collins in Seattle. But it would be many years later before Gaspar got his next taste of stardom. That's when his friend C.J. Ramone of the punk rock group The Ramones introduced Boom Gaspar to Eddie Vedder. The two musicians hit it off, and before long, Vedder had invited Gaspar to join Pearl Jam. Gaspar was more than happy to accept the offer, but the funny thing is, he didn't even know about Pearl Jam or how big they were. In an interview with the Honolulu Advisor, Gaspar said he only agreed to join the band because he thought Vedder was a cool dude. He told the outlet, "I thought he was a swell guy. I didn't know how big he was. I just loved him for how he was and how he came off to us." From a young age, Corin Tucker was destined to become one of the leaders of the Riot Grrrl movement, the early 1990s trend that blended indie rock with feminism and politics. She was born into a very progressive family, after all, and had a father who loved listening to socially conscious artists like Bob Dylan. Tucker eventually joined a band with her high school friends and immersed herself in the Olympia, Washington college music scene. It was there that she met Carrie Brownstein. The two frequently jammed together before forming the indie rock band Slater-Kinney. The Riot Grrrl movement in Olympia was taking place at the same time as the grunge movement in nearby Seattle, so it's no surprise that Tucker would eventually team up with Eddie Vedder. The two sang together on John Doe's 2008 song The Golden State. And Tucker also sang background vocals on Vedder's soundtrack for Into the Wild.
In the wild.
What are you doing when we're there? Now you're in the wild. What are we doing?
You're just living, man.
In her interview with After Ellen, Tucker opened up about her frustrations with fame and how Vedder helped her cope. She told the outlet, "Touring with Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam helped with that experience. Eddie is one of the most famous people I can think of, and he was so gracious with people and understands that role very well. I think that helps." Andrew Watt is something of a wunderkind. As a guitarist, record producer, and songwriter, he's established himself as both a legitimate solo artist and a collaborator of some of the biggest names in music, and the guy hasn't even reached middle age yet. After years of developing his talents, Watt ended up in the supergroup California Breed. His skills as a producer are also respected, seeing as how he won a Grammy Award for Producer of the Year Non-Classical in 2021. Considering all that Watt's achieved in his still young music career, it's no wonder that he eventually caught the attention of Eddie Vedder. The grunge icon tapped Watt to produce his 2022 solo outing Earthling. Watt was even brought on as part of the album's touring band.
I'm proud to say it, like, biggest Pearl Jam fans of all time. You know what I mean? We know the catalog backwards and front.
Of course, for all his expertise, Watt still absorbed quite a bit of wisdom from Vedder, telling Variety, "The way he lives his life is something I hope I can achieve one day. I learned so much about patience and craft. He taught me a lot about what I'd call liftoffs, when a song just seems to keep getting better and more euphoric and reaching for higher landings." Hailing from Dublin, Ireland, Glenn Hansard was so musically talented at a young age that even his teacher instructed him to pursue a creative career. He honed his talents as a performer and songwriter on the streets, and eventually landed a deal with Island Records. While his first two albums weren't massive sellers, they did help Hansard and his band The Frames cultivate a loyal following. Hansard achieved more mainstream success, however, with a separate career as an actor, culminating with his starring role in 2007's Once. Eddie Vedder may be more established as a hard rock musician, but he's ventured into more folk-oriented territory in some of his side projects. This made him a natural creative partner for Hansard. The two wrote several songs for Sean Penn's 2021 film Flag Day, and Hansard joined Vedder's touring band to support the Pearl Jam frontman's 2022 solo album Earthling. Their friendship started after a fan died by suicide at a concert Hansard was performing at. When news of the tragedy broke, Vedder reached out to Hansard to offer some comfort. Hansard told The Independent, "He just wanted to know if I was okay, which was incredibly kind of him. We spoke for an hour each night for a week. He's a beautiful soul, Eddie, really deep. He's helped me." Eddie Spaghetti is primarily known as the bassist and frontman for the Supersuckers. Throughout their career, the Supersuckers developed a devoted following for their unique blend of hard rock, punk, and country. The band formed in Tucson, Arizona in 1988, but eventually relocated to Seattle, where the music scene was far more hospitable to indie rockers. Though the Supersuckers experienced their fair share of ups and downs throughout the 90s and early 2000s, they always maintained their fan base. One of the highlights of their career was teaming up with Eddie Vedder for a cover of the song Poor Girl. The song appeared on the 2000 compilation album Free the West Memphis 3. Spaghetti has remained friendly with Vedder since then, and he has even recounted how the Pearl Jam singer supported him during his fight with throat cancer. In a 2016 interview with Louder, Spaghetti had this to say about Vedder: "No one has been more supportive than Eddie Vedder. He was really concerned about the treatment I was getting because it's my throat, which is my livelihood. And I'm really grateful to him for coming out and sticking his neck out for me. It's not like I hit him up, he just did it."
Yeah, see? That's what I mean. It is kind of crazy. It does show Eddie Vedder is just a genuinely good person through and through, which is kind of rare. It's rarer. It's not that people aren't good people. It's not that people are bad people. It's just the people who aren't necessarily good people either. Do you know what I mean? Like, but he actually seems like someone who actually truly cared about other people. Like, truly. Not just kind of because it's good for your image. He just is that type of person. Yeah, that's fire. That's fire. But then, to be fair, it does seem like, again, that's another thing that's quite common with the grunge bands, is that they all just do seem like good people as well. Like, do you know what I mean? Especially for the era that came before it, the kind of the stories you hear of Axl Rose and the kind of big rock stars doing ridiculous things, and then you just get this wave of kind of just nice people. Is yeah, weird, weird. It's probably why as well know that the business that they was in fucked them all up. Other than Eddie Vedder, he seems to have kind of come out all right. But I don't think he was actually proper Seattle scene, was he? He was brought in. That's what it said in the Chris Cornell book. It was kind of Chris Cornell who kind of initiated him and kind of gave him the Seattle stamp, kind of. And yeah, well, I think we did a video of them two's friendship. That was good. But yeah, anyway, that's the reaction. Sweet.